All right, everybody, welcome back to another video here from Top Comics Pressing. In this video, what I'm going to do is essentially ruin or turn to brick this Edge of the Spider-Verse #2. Now, before you freak out on me, I will point out that this is the recent facsimile edition, and so it's not a first printing, even though it looks like it. So I've intentionally chosen this one because not only is it a reprint, it's also has several non-pressable defects. So the first of which here is some color rub right by that top staple, and it has a really gnarly bunch of crush down here on that bottom spine, and so I could press that out, but it's still going to leave several ticks, and so top likelihood of this comic is a 9.6 is a facsimile, so to me it's a good candidate to demonstrate what not to do. So here I have my 15 by 15 inch clamshell press set up. I use the Tussie that is recommended in the in the comic book CPR book here by Michael Sorensen. So this is the standard stacking layer for a modern book. As I've mentioned in my other video, one thing you want to do when looking at a modern book is open up to that centerfold and check out the staples. And so if I move those a little bit closer to the camera, you can see I would consider these to be, quote, normal staple size. And so with that, this would just use a one backer board in the middle of my stack. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the press here, and then we can get going. So the first thing I do is I have an aluminum sheet in here. That's my base, and then I use these SRP papers. And so I'm going to slide that on in there. Oops, I need a buffer. So I use one magazine backer board here as the buffer. And then I'm going to put down a sheet of SRP paper that the comic will go against. And you'll notice here for this video, I'm just reusing some materials instead of grabbing fresh stuff. So then I have my book open to the centerfold, so I'm going to add buffer to that. I'm going to add one backer board, and I'm going to, as I slide that in there, I'm going to kind of pull with my top thumb and my finger on both staples just to make sure it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to open up the last page, and for moderns like this, I use one sheet of regular printer paper to get that in there. Flip it around. One sheet of regular paper, and you'll notice the whole time here underneath I'm supporting the entire book with my hand, and I have my fingers spread out a good amount to make sure that I don't have any pressure on the book, and I'm not stressing the spine in any way. So I always go staples first into the press, so we'll just slide that on in there. Put down some more SRP paper, put down another magazine backer board on top. Make sure that's nice and flat, and then I'm going to put down my top metal sheet. Then I'm going to go ahead and close the press, and I'm going to give that a turn on. Okay, and so typically for a modern book like this, we'll want it set at 140 degrees. But let's just say I pressed a book from the 1990s or 1980s before this book, and the temperature I recommend for that is 165. That's kind of the generic go-to temp, and so I'm entering 165. And what we're going to find out is that this higher temperature on these glossed interior moderns is going to fuse the pages. And so I want to give you a really good example of that here. Now, the normal time that I use for a modern at the 140 degrees is 10 minutes, but to make sure I fuse the pages really good, I'm going to use 15 minutes, which is the recommended time again for a book from the 80s or 90s. And so this is really an example of how we want to be able to adjust our press as well as the conditions to account for a glossed interior. So let's see what it comes out looking like. I'll turn this off in 15 minutes, and then I'll come on back after a couple hours and we'll pull the book out. All right, everybody, welcome back. So we did the quick press here of the facsimile edition of Edge of the Spider-Verse. So what we're going to do is pop it out now and see if we have free-flowing pages or if I managed to brick it. So what I'm going to do is open the press carefully and lift that on up, pull out my aluminum plate, slide off the backer board and the SRP paper, and let's see what we've got. We've got, you can hear it crinkle. Can't even pull the cover off because it's so toasted. So I'm going to slide out that sheet of paper, slide out this sheet of paper, and then we'll pull the backer board off. Oh, you can just hear that All right, now if I hold this comic here on the edge, we can see I've made a brick. That is full on, one finger in the middle. Only the covers come in there. So this thing has been now completely fused, and you can hear it if I crank it. Oh, that hurts. Oh gosh. All right, so this is exactly 100% what you do not want to do, is forget to adjust your press with a modern book. So word of caution, make sure you are using a lower temperature, a slightly lower pressure, and a shorter time when doing a modern press. Otherwise, you'll end up with a bricked book. All right, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you found this cautionary tale helpful, or at least, oh, you can just hear it. You have to go through and unfuse every one of these pages. It's just painful to listen to. Oh goodness. If you do it too hot, too long, you'll actually transfer ink and gloss from one page to another when you're separating them like that. All right, so good story not to do. We'll go ahead and put that one back in the dollar bucket. If you found the video helpful, please give me a subscribe, a like, a thumbs up. Leave a comment, ask a question. I appreciate your attention as always.